What's up, guys? This is Gabriel Carneiro here, and I would like to keep going with the testing that we started in the last video. And just to remember, we were testing the product class, and we could test the constructor, the increase stock method, and decrease stock method, but we didn't have time to finish. Just two methods here. They are validators, and we're going to test the exception. And to do that, it's a little bit different. So let's go ahead and create a new test function. This time we're going to create a test check positive number. And then we receive self as argument. Well, to test a exception, we cannot go just straight ahead and run the exception. Otherwise, it's going to raise the error here in the middle of the test. For instance, if we go and do self product and check if it's a negative number stock, and if you just put here a negative number, that would raise the error. And then when you do execute the Python main test, that would raise the error inside of the test. Okay, so we need to isolate the method, the exception, using the with block. Okay, so let's remove this here for now, and let's start with the with block. And to test the exception, we have to do this with self assert raises exception, and then we can give any name. We put here assert error. Then we can go ahead and run the exception, the method that we return an exception. So self product check if it's a positive number. Okay, so if you go ahead here and just type 1 negative, it's not gonna raise the error when we execute the test. So now we have the exception, the error inside of this with block, and then we can do the test. So we can get self assert equal, and then we need to get the assert error that we have, and then we need to use the exception and then get the argument. In this case, the argument 0. We need to see here what is the error, okay? And what is the phrase we've got here, the message we have? So we have number must be positive. So the exception needs to return this sentence here, okay? So if we just run Python main test, it's going to run just fine. So let me mess up a little bit here and then run again. It's going to fail because the test, the check positive number test, the message is different. So from here, the exception argument in a 0 position should be number must be positive. But now we change here a little bit, and then it's returning as a wrong. The test had failed. So let's get back here and run the test again. It should be okay. All right. Same thing for the other test we get. Now we're going to test the check negative stock. All right. So let's create another method. Test check negative stock. Self again. Always use the self. And then again, we're testing in an exception that's going to raise an error, and then we have to use the with block using the self assert raises. It's going to be an exception, what we were expecting here, as assert error again. And now we have to run the method in product, okay? So, but now to be able to test this, it's checking, right? The negative stock, this method here is checking if it's negative. And to be able to do that, we would have to go and use and run a decrease stock using it as a negative result. So for instance, we know here in a setup that we have a stock with 10 items, right? So if I run here the decrease stock, decrease stock, and then I put 11 here, it would return a negative number. Then it would run the validation. So self assert equal. There we go again. Assert error exception and the argument of the position 0. What is the message we're expecting? Which is the message we're expecting? We're expecting stock must be greater or equal to 0, right? And then we can paste it here, and then we should run a test. So we had 5 tests so far. Running the test again, it should be 6 tests, and they are all okay. So we could see here that to test an exception, we need to start with a with block using the self assert raises, in this case an exception, as any name you can put here, and then we run the function method. We're going to return this error, this exception, and then we can use the assert equal. As we saw before, the first argument needs to be exactly the same as the second argument, and then we have a very we have a exception test done and a unit test for Python. Thanks for watching.